Hey, who's out there? Everybody here? We're Me and Pat, Zia and Pat are here live with our podcast, Witchy Wonders. And we're going to be talking to you guys tonight about all of the haunted and weird, interesting things that goes on in North Carolina. So if you're there, say hey, and you can let us know about some of your experiences that you've had in North Carolina yourself. Maybe something no one's ever heard about. So, yeah, welcome. What you
Yeah,
want to talk about first?
well, I just want to offer an apology to everyone. We kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
went off the line. Yeah, and I did put something up on Facebook to let people know I had been ill. I've had several little operations, nothing big or major, but it's one of those things where a healer needs to step back and make sure that they themselves are in a good position, right? And so it
Mhm.
got healed up, and we are back, and hopefully there won't be any chasms of time between shows. We are going to appear every Thursday night on the third Thursday of a month, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what are we
Well,
talking about tonight?
I was going to say, welcome back to our show. And did y'all miss us? So, what do you want to talk about first in North Carolina that's weird, and creepy?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna tell you, I get excited about this sort of thing. I'm sorry, ever since I was a child, this is
Yeah, me too.
fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Um, One of the things I would like to mention is the Demon Dog of Valley Cruises. Now, tonight we're talking about all things weird in North Carolina, and it's so cool because this is our neck of the woods, right?
Yeah.
Not far from us, and I want to show you a book. It's a chapbook of poetry I wrote several years ago
Oh,
now. But if you'll notice, I am standing in a graveyard, and this is the St. John's Episcopal Church, dedicated in 1862. It's a really small graveyard. In fact, the most significant marker is this one, which is, of course, a Celtic cross on a tombstone. And so can you imagine? Now imagine this. This little graveyard sits up on a mountain. It's got an old gravel road that drives past it, right? Or goes past it. So you stop and you might even admire the little country church. You might get out and walk around the graveyard. Get into your car, and as you begin to drive away, you notice the largest black dog that you have ever seen in your life. And you begin to pick up speed. And a dog should have let go of the chase by now, but nay, nay, you are driving and it is going faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden, you notice that you're going as fast as that car can go on this old gravel road. And you look back and you see this hellhound with blazing red eyes as it chases after you. That is what people report right up there, which is really interesting. We have so much history that
yes.
isn't recorded, isn't is the truth. You know, we had a frontier here in these mountains, and so people did pass in in different places that aren't recorded, and that's why you might I don't know if that's what caused this. It sounds almost like somebody had opened a portal, and it's
Yeah.
really interesting that it's reported near this church.
Huh.
So
Yeah, what's
I'm not
up with that
sure.
area? That's interesting for sure.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
Yeah, like you said, certain things happen, and when there's portals or different ley lines intersecting different energies, and things can happen. There's apparently, I've heard there's a portal in Asheville, so who knows? And then also, Bigfoot's everywhere. That's one of the things that's in this book here. This is a really cool book. I'll show you. Weird Carolina. So it's got North Carolina and South Carolina. But look, I was showing this picture.
Ooh, I love that.
It's Bigfoots or skunk apes, it says. Um, and another names for it, woolly booger. But for my next escape room, I'm actually doing something along those lines to do with like weird North Carolina and monsters and just all the weird happenings. And also, this book doesn't cover just stuff like weird, the weird and creepy things and ghosts and such. It also just has interest in places in North Carolina and why they're named that, stuff like that. But one I like to really talk about is the Brown Mountain Lights. And if anyone's in the chat, say hey, let us know. Have you seen the Brown Mountain Lights? Do you have any experiences with that? What do you think they are?
Well, we're going to say hello to Amy, Lynn Greer, Millie Boshears Henniger, and Shasta Myers. Thank y'all for stopping by. And I will mention that for some reason it's not letting me post. So I'm having to go back. So if you see me looking to my right, I am actually posting for you guys. Now, is it allowing you to post, Zia? No? Yes?
No, I don't. Well, there's something in the comment thing. It says
Yeah, it's
start
not.
the chat with everyone, but I don't think it's just me and you. That's all that is.
Well, I could see you guys, and I will be responding to any questions or any comments that you may have, or we will. But back to the Brown Mountain Lights, because that's a fascinating one.
Absolutely. It was actually featured on, so everybody, they're not everybody. There's been like a lot of different, people going out there trying to research it and figure out what it was because people have been seeing this phenomenon before there was electricity. It's been reported, and they call them like ghost lights because there's the idea that it's spirits. Um, and other people say, oh, it's just a natural phenomenon, that seems to happen after a rain, especially in the fall time. So they say it's like swamp gas or something like that. But personally, I think it might be aliens or something along those lines happening because it's not only like on the mountain, it's above it. So it's something in the sky, shooting up. But it's super interesting. But we have talked about that on a previous episode. If you want to go watch our show about, I think it was called Ghosts, and we talked about that a lot more.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about that too is one of the theories is that it's fairies.
Oh,
And I love this whole idea of, the fairy are interdimensional beings like Bigfoot and fairies and trolls and elves and all of the other kind that we read so much about growing up and hopefully still do. But
yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting. And I know that the Indians, didn't they also? I remember reading some time ago. What is that about?
There was,
You
I
were
think the legend for them is that it kind of was similar to me to the Blowing Rock story, which that's kind of a cool story too. We can talk about that maybe. But where there was like two warring tribes or something, and then somebody got lost on the mountain, and then there was a torch searching party, I think, something like that. So that was like an example, I think.
Oh, look at
I
this.
see the comments now.
Yeah, I can see him. I just have to respond. We're just going to do it verbally. Amy, thank you for coming. And no, I haven't seen him yet either. Maybe we need to get together sometime
Yeah.
and just go
Well,
on down. Yeah.
actually, me and my friends went there one time, and we were at that milepost marker, and we're like looking at the mountain area, and then Morganton's below that and stuff, and then there was like a lot of people out there too. It was pretty crazy because yeah, it's become a popular thing. But then we go to leave, and we go like the road's behind us, and our car's parked over there. We go get in the car, and then we look up in the sky like behind where we were looking, and then we see like little lights on and then off, on and then off, like kind of like in a way like fireworks, but not super like bright or anything. And it was just so interesting and weird. I never seen anything like that, but it wasn't crazy stuff. Like I do a ghost walk, and I'm starting that back up on this Saturday night at 6:30. If you want to attend, let me know. Give me a call, send me a message, 10 per person. Trying to get some interest around that. A lot of time, for Memorial Day weekend, I try to start back up, but I don't always get a lot of interest until October. But anyhow, I've had people come on the tour and talk about how they have experienced these Brown Mountain lights, because I'll bring it up, and they tell pretty much the same story, kind of like how they see two like pulsing lights, and almost like they're these big orbs in the sky, and then they come together and meet, and then they're like pulsing together, kind of. And also things like ball lightning down in the canyon, because actually the best place to look for them, they say, is Wiseman's View in Linville Gorge area. I think, yeah, Linville Gorge.
Just brought Zia's website up if anybody's interested. $10 is crazy good. I got to get over there
I
and,
know,
and
maybe
take
I
you
should
to
charge.
Zia.
Maybe I should charge more, so that way I just don't have to have so many people.
I bet you, yeah, but I bet you do get a lot of business because of that. But she just had a Memorial Day tour, and we're excited to hear that she's going to be doing as we get into haunt season, as they call it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, one of the ones that I'm really excited about is, and I got to figure out, I'm doing this as I go, folks. It's been a while since I've been on, and they have changed things on me. They really have. It's like, wait a minute. But anyway, so overlook us. We're getting back. We're getting our groove back. But there is, and forgive my dog, I have huge dogs. I have 3 of them, combined weight of 400 pounds. I have a Swissy, I have a Bernese, and Mountain Dog, and then we have a half German Shepherd and half Whippet, which is a really strange combination. He's like our ugly little stepchild, and we love him dearly. So one of the things that I really wanted to share with everyone is something that happened. And it happened down towards the coast, and this is pretty famous. I mean, a lot of people have seen this. Sorry, here we go. All right, I want to share this with you guys. All right, for those that you haven't seen this, oh my goodness, it is worth the listen. And the reason I'm talking about this is I have a story that's not on Singular. It's certainly not as in your face as what occurred with him, but I definitely saw the same type of creature. But anyway, here we go. This is actually a sheriff talking about this.
It is very hard to listen to that call, to that 911 tape, without becoming somewhat unnerved. It actually bothered me the first time that I heard it.
Henry County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road? What was that, sir?
Jump on the car.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, human?
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck.
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road. It's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am. I just turned on my bed lights for my truck, and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
According to the CAD notes and the deputy reports, this thing jumped into the back of his pickup truck and began to actually beat on the top of the cab of his truck. You could actually hear something beating on the top of the truck. The caller stated that it was beating and scratching on the top of the cab of his truck. He actually stated that he was able to engage his bed light and was able to somewhat identify this object that was in the back of his truck. At some point, he was able to slam on his brakes, and the force of inertia actually threw this thing out over his hood and onto the highway, where this thing stood up in the roadway, made its way to the wood line, and disappeared in the woods. It is very hard to listen to that call.
All right.
I
Now,
thought there was more to the guy screaming because I've heard that before.
no, that's pretty much it. But when he screams, it's not human. That's not human.
Yes.
I mean, you can hear the panic in his voice. All right. And I wanted to share my experience with this. This was about maybe a week and a half after Helene hit. And I had to go to Washington County, Virginia, right? So I go all the way to Whitfield, or go all the way to Wilkesboro and across, 77 to 81 and back.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back, my GPS got me off the road. Got me off the road and into those mountains, and I actually lost my satellite service to my GPS. So now I am running around in the mountains, in a neck of the mountains that I don't know, right? And I noticed that the roads are getting worse and worse and worse, and everywhere I go, it's blocked off because of the debris from the storm. The roads are blocked off, and it seems like I'm going into this mouse maze, if you will, that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And finally, I am on a dirt/gravel road. And I look over into a field. It's a very bright moon. And I see this thing that is like, it had to have been at least 7 feet tall. I mean, it was substantial in height. And it wore like a black, like a black cloak, or just black all over it except for its face. And its face was like white, like it glowed in the moonlight. And its eyes, I swear, it looked like kind of that mask that from that movie, right? Where it has the kind of elongated black eyes and then the white mask for Scream.
Yeah.
But not quite like that, but somewhat. And so I look at it, it's like everything slows down. It's like we lock eyes because it's standing in the field, but not very far away, right? And so we've locked eyes. Well, I'm like really wanting to get out of there. Now I have some impetus. Now I have a fire under my tail to get out of there. And so I go down this last road, and I notice it's getting more narrow and more narrow. And I swear to you, I don't know what happened. It must have been clouds that covered the moon, because all of a sudden I am in darkness, and then the clouds parted, and about 15 yards or less in front of me, I noticed that it seems really dark, like really dark, like darker than the road is supposed to look. So I stopped and I got out and the road was not there. There was no road there. The road had been washed out. Now I am in a predicament because I am in such a narrow space, and I have to back up, and I have no depth perception. So I have a long way to back up. So I back up a little bit at a time, and I keep thinking, please don't eat me. Please. I didn't want to see that thing running at me or even doing the slow zombie walk, from the back of the car as I'm looking, through the window trying to get out of here. And so I finally get to a place where the water had rushed off of the mountain and actually cleared like this area out, right? But it was really muddy. So now I'm in a predicament. It's like I can turn around. I can try to turn around and hope there's enough gravel and rocks to support the car, because if not, it means that whole back end of the car is going to go down. I took a chance and I pulled in And then I pulled out, and when I pulled out to turn around, I mean, there was nothing in front of me. That's how close it was. That's how tight it was, and
Yeah.
how determined I was to get out of there. And so I turned around and I started back up the road. And then I looked over in the same field and it wasn't there. So I'm wondering if it wasn't just a harbinger of doom, like
Yeah.
telling me that the doom was ahead, because oftentimes we'll look at something like that and immediately start chucking rocks at it, right? Thinking that it's always evil, it's always this, it's always that. But
Yeah.
the reality is that it may have been a warning for me that night that I was about to literally just drive off a mountain. Because when I got out, I am telling you, a swath of that road no longer existed. And it was so funny because just a couple of miles, if I could have crossed that and gotten where I needed to go, I was just a couple of miles. So I had to go back, and I thought, okay, Pat, you plan for survival. I'm not a full-blown survivalist, but I read the books. And I'm like, get smart. Get to the top of the mountain, any mountain, it doesn't matter what mountain, and get your GPS back. And so I did, and it was really crazy because I finally got to a place where I could get it, and the road was blocked like feet away. And so I was able to get my GPS and get my tail back out of there. And it was somewhere around Chohawi. I went up into the mountains. It gave me the shortcut. And I should have thought, it was really on me. But yeah, I think it was a harbinger.
Yeah.
But mountains are so full of creatures, and I truly believe in dimensional shifts and
Yeah.
in dimensional beings that cross over, that know how to do this.
I think that well, I forgot what I was going to say about that, but but yeah,
That's okay.
that's pretty crazy. I mean, well, I'll just make a hard transition since I forgot what I was going to say about that.
That's a, well. Let me say hello to Jimmy for joining
Uh,
us. Thank you, Jimmy, and hope you'll visit us often. We're on the third Thursday of the month, and we start at 8 p.m.
yeah, thanks for joining us. Good to see you there, as much as I can see you. But yeah, there's a lot of cool, crazy stuff in North Carolina. And, like you said, some of it just kind of gets lost the wayside, and only these weird books we have as the evidence we have. Have you guys heard of the Kentucky meat shower? Well, in North Carolina, there was actually a shower of blood as well. And I don't know what this interesting phenomenon was about. I'd have to read all about this. But they wrote in the headline of the paper says, "Great Fall of Flesh and Blood, Extraordinary Phenomenon in Sampson County." And it was on February 15th, 1850, on the property of Thomas Clarkson near Clinton, North Carolina. It says, included many large pieces of flesh, liver, lungs, and brains, along with gobs of blood. The blood fell in enough quantity to run down the leaves of trees and splash the ground like a heavy rain. He took samples of the fallen material, which were later confirmed to be putrefied flesh. But yeah, that's just like, apparently that probably happened in some other places too, and they don't understand what it is or why it happened. And some theories say, like, oh, there might have been, because buzzards, when they get startled, if they're eating, they'll fly and then they'll throw up as they're flying. But that would be closer to the ground, because so they can get in the air faster and everything. So I think the Kentucky meat storm, they tested it and they said it was horse meat. So I don't know. But I don't know. They never really had any clear answers. There was speculation of what it could be. But I thought, like, what if something weird, like we were just saying, dimensional happened? Like how they're trying to mess with, like, the CERN particle accelerator, and opening up portals and stuff. Who's to say something didn't go wrong with that in the timeline to where that would happen? Because that is just such a weird, bizarre thing, and it doesn't make any sense.
Well, if anybody out there listening has had a time portal shift type of experience themselves, share with us. We'd like to hear it, hear your story, and talk about it. But yeah, time portals. I talked with Rosemary Ellen Galley once, and I had such great respect for this woman. She did, I think, 70 books before she passed. I mean, she was just an amazing lady. And sorry, I was thinking about her. Gosh, I do miss her. She was such a gracious human being also. But she said that she thought there was so much activity in the this area, like the this area of the Appalachians, and you have West Virginia, you have a part of the Appalachians in Virginia, you got Kentucky, just boing right there, right in the Appalachian kind of region, because we have so many ley lines that are
Yeah,
crossing power lines, and anything that provides power, think about it, it's a power grid that if you know how to use that, you can use it. And then, you have to wonder, is this deliberate always? The doorways, or do they just happen and it's been handed down through whatever generations they have, that hey, this is a portal you can cross over, just look for another one to come back. And maybe there's even frequencies, like if there's a portal with a certain frequency, where that is going to land you, so you're not going to land out in the middle of the ocean somewhere. I mean, this is the thing, and I love H.G. Wells when he talked about the time machine, and the aspects of that. Remember, he ended up underground after a million years or whatever it was, in the machine. So, this whole idea of time changing, and, it's flowing. It's like water. Time is like water. And
yeah,
it flows and it ebbs. I truly do not believe in a linear uh, timeline, that's just straight and it never flexes back. I believe in a version of that idea of the, vibration, where you're going back and forth in time, right?
yep,
Um, and this idea of dimensional layering, so that doors open up at once and you may have 10, right? 10 of you living different lifetimes, that get mixed up. And then you hear stories, like the gentleman who woke up, and literally woke up, and he had lived a lifetime. He had a wife and children. He swore to
yeah,
it. I mean, it had been years. So it makes you wonder, did he slip into a time portal? And for a modicum of time, and I shouldn't say modicum, but for years, he actually lived another version of his life in another dimension. So time flowing back and forth. I love these ideas.
yeah. When I do the ghost walk, that is what I usually talk about. Like, time's not linear like back in the day and then now, it's not a straight line. It's happening all around us at once. And that's why I say that's how it explains that you can just encounter a ghost sometimes, because for whatever reason, it's, maybe the right situation. A lot of the time you'll see ghosts when it's foggy, the rains happen, some kind of water in the air. And when you were talking about the ley lines in the area, I also thought about, the theory of there being quartz and different mineral deposits that possibly holds these energies and memories, and whatever, for whatever reason plays them back at a certain time. And people, when they're traveling, this is what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about that. When people are traveling, really that is when they experience a lot of paranormal activity, just seeing stuff on the side of the road. You'll hear a lot about hitchhiker ghosts. My friend Amy
Mhm.
that's listening in, she's very familiar with the story of Lydia, and that's in, where's that at, Amy? Down near Greensboro. Um, Lydia's Bridge is where there was a hitchhiker ghost, and the story went that this man took home this girl, and then he was gonna let her out of the car at her house, but she disappeared. And so then he goes and knocks on the door and said, "I was bringing Lydia home." And then, basically they explained that she had died. She was wanting to go to a dance or coming home from a dance. But there's, yeah, pretty much hitchhiker ghost is a very popular type of ghost that's in many different legends. And Amy, if you're listening, you can add whatever you want onto that, and we'll read it. And when you were talking about what we started off with, what was it? The Beast of Valley Crucis or something? What'd you call it?
And the Hellhound of Valley
Okay.
Crucis.
Yeah, I'd never heard about that. But then there's also the Beast of Bladenborough or Bladenborough, however you say that. And this is apparently sort of like a vampire chupacabra type being. But I guess chupacabra is that because it would feed on goats and stuff. But this animal apparently sadly killed dogs and drained them of their blood and carried them off. And then there was a search party going, trying to find this thing. And then they found other dead animals and stuff, but none of the meat was eaten or anything. It was just like they drank their blood. And they claimed that some man from Asheville finally killed it, and I don't know what it was or whatever. It's still kind of a mystery, I think. But
Well,
there's bizarre beast.
very cool. Yeah, man beasts and larger than life animals have been reported throughout time. And it's really interesting. And I hate to go out of North Carolina, but just briefly, in France in the 14th century, there was a werewolf that had slaughtered like dozens or at least a dozen people. And it was never really caught. I mean, so if it was a person, they were never caught, but it was said the wounds were so horrific that the description of the beast, it would have been outsized, even for a natural wolf in its element, it would have been much larger and much more vicious in its attacks, if possible, than even a wolf. If anyone has any stories they'd like to share, specifically, something you may have seen, heard, felt, or had an experience with in North Carolina, let us know. And if you've got a location that you have investigated, let us know that too. And here we go. Michael had a family story of a witch who turned into a black dog and into a huge black bird. Very, I bet this story went that the dog was being attacked, and then the dog would move from from the dog shape into the bird shape in order to escape. Because
that makes sense.
this is a story that is central, if you will, to some of the mountain lore.
Yeah.
So, and what it gives us is someone who is a shapeshifter, but not relegated or chained to one shape. This individual had, obviously, had the reputation of being able to shapeshift into multiple animals, not only an earth-bound animal, the dog, but also, one of the air where it could fly.
Now, I thought she was going to bring this. Might be the same one or along the same lines, but there was a legend, and it is a popular, probably like mountain legend that so there was, I guess, something going on with their person's farm that was to blame a witch on, whatever. And they kept seeing like a hare, a big rabbit hare, or a like maybe a black dog, or definitely a black cat, something like that type of animal kept coming around. And so I guess they cut the foot off of the animal, and then they went looking for the woman that they had thought might have done these things, and then turned out her hand was gone. So that kind of proved that she was the animal. That's probably like a very old tale,
Mhm.
But
Well,
yeah.
I got one I'd like to hit on. We've always got, and Amy, thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate it. Let's see, what do we have here? Let's see. This would have been Yadkinville, North Carolina area. So the foothills of the Appalachian, a lot of energy there too, for sure. And
Um.
then this is that story she's telling you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a fun one. I met a
Well,
woman at the. Oh, sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I met a woman at the farmers market a couple weeks ago, and she had seen like what we're doing and everything, and about the upcoming documentary, and she said that her grandma was like the well-known witch. I don't know if it's in North Carolina. I almost want to say she said Kentucky. I can't remember, but around these parts up around, she said that. I was like, well, what kind of stuff did she do or whatever, that made her a witch? And there was different like superstitious stuff. She said like she couldn't cross a broom laid on the ground or something like that. I was like, that's interesting. But yeah, I
Here's
like to meet people with stories like that.
She's saying we also saw a shadow of a big bird out there.
Oh, yeah. That could be like a thunderbird. I've heard there's thunderbirds too. Like I've heard of that, and I think in North Carolina even. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Well,
a
that would
huge
make sense
bird.
since we do have, the Eastern Band of the Cherokee. And
Yeah.
and I will tell you too, we forget that like over in West Virginia, and throughout here, there were many different
What's
tribes.
wrong?
Um, do we have an upset kitty?
Yeah, did you hear her? It's her
Yeah.
birthday today. She's 2 years old.
Well, happy birthday, familiar of Zia.
Yeah.
Wha- One location I'd like to talk about before we wrap up is good old the Biltmore. And the Biltmore, if you've ever been there, it's kind of oppressive. I mean, I'm standing there in it and thinking, oh my God, how would you how would you wrap your mind around 250 rooms? 250 rooms.
That's
And of course,
insane.
well, Vanderbilt wanted the biggest castle in America, so to speak, and to show his wealth. And it was a time too when royalty still mattered. Royalty, and this was a time when rich industrialists in America were marrying especially their daughters, off to people who held a royal title in Europe but had no money because things had begun to change where you weren't guaranteed, £1 million just because you were a count or a duke. So they needed the money, and so you started having these arrangements of power where you had money on the one side but no title, which is what the Americans were. They were new money, nouveau riche. And then you had the paupers, but who had titles. They needed money to keep those great plantations up, so to speak, those great houses up. And so they married into the American industrialist money, which is really interesting. But there's an energy there, especially in places like in the pool area. The pool is inside the house, and it's
Yeah,
really claustrophobic if you've
I've
been
heard that's
there.
haunted. Yeah.
Mhm. And it's really interesting. I don't know what it is about pools. I think there's a lot of energy just expended there, but I felt the same way. And I'm so sorry. I have allergies, but I felt the
Got
same
some
way
water?
when I was on the Queen Mary and went down to the pool there. Just really a very heavy energy.
Yeah.
But,
Um,
but but they
yeah, I think
talk
they said
about
they heard voices, right? And like
mhm.
people having a party or something.
Yeah, and you'll hear meaning what's her name? Edith, George Vanderbilt's wife, and
I don't know.
they say you can hear her calling out George's name. But it's really interesting too because if you've ever been upstairs, now this was in the what they called the golden age. And it was golden if you were an industrialist and rich, but not so golden if you were a servant.
Right.
And so these servants, if there was a little child that would be walking along a hallway and it was a Vanderbilt or another very wealthy child, you would have to back up, put your back up against the wall and downcast your eyes until that child moved. There was a whole protocol to it.
I'm
But
glad I never
anyway,
went there and spent like $100 just to get in and see that place. But
I have
I've looked at
spent
the
the money.
pictures of that pool that you're talking about, and the pictures even feel like haunted and oppressive. And I've heard some terrible, insidious things that I will not get into right now about that place. So, and I don't doubt it. I really don't.
Well, especially if when you go down into the basement, it's kind of a basement area. There's parts of that area that feels very, very heavy also. So
I
we have
bet.
all these wonderful locations though in North Carolina that are supposedly haunted, and so many stories. And I think you wanted to talk about the Devil's Tramping
You
Ground.
read my mind. I was literally about
There
to
you
say
go.
that. You know, Cat is psychic, y'all. You know that. But yeah, the Devil's Tramping Ground is definitely a big one. And I was looking in this book, and there's apparently also a Devil's Tramping Ground in South Carolina. Now, I don't know what all it entails, but probably around the same kind of deal. But the Devil's Tramping Ground in North Carolina, it's like, I think I want to say it's Bear Creek area or something. I actually live near Bear Creek Road, but it's not the same area. It's another place. But it's a big circle of land that nothing grows on it. They say, the devil goes there and dances at night, and that's why nothing grows there. And that people have tried to camp there overnight, and then their tent would be moved out of the circle the next morning. So I thought that's pretty crazy if that's true. I talked to somebody recently about that came into the shop. That's one of the things I really love about having a shop is because we have really interesting conversations that I know no other like normal shop owner has these conversations. He was saying he went there and it was on private property now, but I guess that they allow people to go there. I don't know, but if you do visit that, obviously you try to get permission before you go there.
Hmm. Yeah, I think too they find a lot of animal carcasses that are nearby this location. And if you say you want to put something in the middle of the circle, supposedly it disappears also by
Oh
morning.
yeah,
Hmm. It makes you wonder if there's a vortex there or
must
if
be.
there's a dimensional door, yeah, that's opening there. So yeah. So yeah, uh, uh, one of the things that we had was the Green Park Inn, and it's so sad. It was over in Blowing Rock, and it
Yeah.
is now, yeah, it is now no more. Of course, they had a lady, I think she was in pink or something. There's always a tragic lady. I don't know what it is about us. We just can't let go, but very tragic. And now it has been raised. And you have mixed feelings because on the one hand, it was deteriorating and it cost a great deal to keep a building like that up. Um, and on the other hand, we've just lost another paranormal location that can never be replicated. So, it's very sad.
Yeah, it's wild how, well, places outside, like we were talking about, can be haunted, but then it's interesting how buildings can keep that haunting. And then I've heard of like places being renovated and then it, makes it haunted again. Activity stirs up again. And
Mhm.
I used to clean there, like there was apartments, and I used to clean with my aunt there right behind that place, but I never went in there. I wished I would have went there and just looked and seen how it looked in the lobby if they wouldn't care, just because I'm interested in old buildings and stuff.
Mm.
But I had heard of that lady haunting there. I don't think that they weren't very, some places they don't want their place to be associated with a haunted area. Some places they want you to come there and advertise it as haunted, which that's what I would do. You know.
Yeah. I will tell you that it's really sad too because there are locations that are truly haunted, but they don't perform. They're not. It's not a clown act. It's not a circus act. These are spirits that have moved from the body into the ether, but are still not completely removed from the now. And it's like sometimes I think people expect them to perform, and and it really upsets me when I see like people demanding things from the spirit realm, like, show yourself now, and
Yeah.
taunting them. I know that you were a killer. Say you're up at West Virginia Penn. I know you're a killer and you killed your brother. Do you think you're going to hell? Is that why
Yeah,
you
I mean,
don't
that's not
move
nice.
on?
It's like, just don't, just treat them like you would a person.
Yes,
I,
exactly. Um, Amy Lynn Greer says, "Our type of story like that, but we saw a shadow of a big bird out there."
oh,
And
yeah, you
well, that's
posted that one, yeah.
and well, Amy, too. I wanted to bring this back up
Oh,
though, because talking about the Thunderbird, like Zia mentioned, it's interesting because the description of the Thunderbird is often a giant shadow.
yeah.
And so this definitely talks about, that kind of energy, which is really neat and interesting. All right, is there anything else you'd like to add, Zia, as we wrap this up? Now, guys, next time we're going to do haunted or weird Virginia. We're going to go right over the border. But are there any topics that you would be interested in us researching and talking about? And hopefully, you'll begin to as we get our groove back into our show, we'll get more participation. We'd love to hear from you. We love to talk with you. So,
Um, there was this thing called a snallygaster, and that was like an old-timey, like, it meant fast ghost, I think, because it was Schnellgeist or something like that. And I don't know if that was in North Carolina. That might have been Virginia, but that was sort of like an Appalachian type monster that was weird. You'll have to look into that. But I don't know. There's probably plenty of stuff that we didn't go over or even think about. But I know the main ones, Devil's Tramping Ground, and then yeah, we did the Beast of Bladensboro and Brown Mountain Lights. So those we pretty much covered a lot of the major ones. But even if people watch us back later, please comment, anything that you've experienced or some of the stories that you like that we might have left out, because yeah, we like to hear from you and we appreciate everybody tuning in to watch us and all that.
all right, much love to all of you. And until next time, stay
Stay
curious.
curious.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.